Hello, good evening. So I hope you guys have been having a pretty decent week. Honor did really great despite having some technical difficulties. She did download a pretty awesome reading in the book club. And she's going to end up posting it in our group if she hasn't already. So be on the lookout for that. And I encourage you guys to watch her and listen to her insight. I think it really links in well with the reading I gave our group on Sunday. It's just, yeah. It's just a lot of different things, a lot of feelings and all that stuff that comes with that Mercury retrograde. And of course, there's always issues with communication with that. So if you're not feeling it, I mean, I'm hoping that you guys aren't struggling too bad this week. But just know to take it a day at a time and just to do your best. You know, it's all any of us can do. In short, I had a really good day today. You know, I had lunch with my hubby. And then I did run some errands. Got a couple things for Noah's birthday bash coming up. So I'm looking forward to celebrating that on Saturday with his friends coming over. And yeah, really that's the gist of it. It was a really good day. They always seem to fly by, you know. I think one of the highlights was just eating outside for lunch. It was just so pretty and sunny, you know. So tonight we're going to continue our journey through the Suit of Pentacles. I do feel like we're still making a lot of progression, which is cool. So tonight we're about to delve into the Four of Pentacles. And so I'm going to hold the card up here. I want you to assess the central character. If he is looking directly at us, which he is, what is he doing? What is the predominant color use? What's going on in the background? How does the card make you feel? Does it make you feel comfortable, uncomfortable, maybe a bit uncertain? So we're just going to kind of hop right in here. This is the Roman numeral for 4. And again, keep in mind that when I do these tarot teaching moments, you guys are getting a mirror image, so it flips it. So what we're seeing here is the central character, and even though it's a man, sex doesn't matter in tarot. It could be a male or a female, and he is wearing a crown. And from the research I did on this card, that's in reference to King Midas. So this was a king that's in myth who was very prominent and wealthy, and he wished for everything he touched to be turned to gold. But unfortunately, the downside to that was that the food he tried to eat would turn to gold, or even when he tried to say to be very careful about what you ask for, because you very well might get. Oh my goodness. I don't know if this is going to be a night where the connection's spotty. It might be Mercury retrograde playing havoc with this go live. I'm going to try my best though. If it's too awful or what have you, I'll do what Honor did. I'll pre-record a video and post it. So what we have here is, so the Pentacles, you know, we're dealing about the earthly, monetary, material type things of this world, right? So he has a pentacle that's on his head, and what that stands is his love for his possessions, money, career is impeding him being in touch with spirit. At his very core, he is holding this other pentacle very close to him, a very closed off, guarded stance. So this is not in any way like a very open giving stance at all. He's very much worried about somebody making off with his pentacles. And then there's a foot holding each of these pentacles down. And it would appear that he's seated on not even a throne, but it's like this stone bench. So this is not a comfortable place to be in. If anything, this is a very uncomfortable place to be in. And it looks like he's got a bit of a hunchback going on, so that's not good for his spine either. So we're seeing the predominant color of red here. And so with red, we're looking at him being victorious. So he has accumulated quite a bit of wealth. And you know how we all feel, say, when you get your paycheck from work and before you pay the bills and everything with it, you're thinking, wow, you know, like at that moment in time, it's like you're thinking, this is pretty cool. But then by the time you pay your bills and so forth, it's like, where did it go? Well, what we have here, though, is so this is a well-to-do person, very established. Their hard work is paid off. However, they are clutching too tightly to these pentacles. So I have referenced in Go Lives the law of attraction. So say if you do have this material wealth, for example, then if you put it out into the universe and you help others and so forth, and you actually do something with that, then you attract more abundance back. Okay, that's how it typically goes. What we have here is somebody who's worked very hard, but they're not open to taking any gambling or risk or sharing this money. Very much possibly linked to them going without before and not having enough money, so they know what that feels like. And now that they, through hard work and efforts, have acquired these pentacles, okay, they're not really wanting to let them go, but they're not really wanting to do a whole lot with them either. Because think about it, with how he's got a pentacle on his head, he's got this one at his core, and these two that he's holding down with his feet, he cannot take any action, nor can he connect with his faith. He is very much alone in this card. You do not see other people, friends, family. Nobody is around him. So he's very much isolated from the rest of the world, which is pictured behind him. It looks like we're looking at a bit of a kingdom, is what they would have called it back then. It really puts me in mind of a city, that feeling of being on top of the world, of being accomplished. However, he's very isolated. He's separated from his community, which is not healthy and it's not good. So in reference to, say, love, when it comes to romantic or platonic friendships, this is a possessive friend. They can be insecure, jealous, a bit needy, you know, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody and they have a lot of issues that they have not resolved and it carries over into the new relationship, these behaviors, even the best relationship is not going to work out until those issues are dealt with, because the other person may feel smothered, which is not a good place to be at. And then if somebody is single and not in a relationship, it shows the need that they need to tend to these past events, relationships that may not have panned out, or these things about themselves that they're carrying with them that are not good. They need to kind of work through that and, you know, kind of deal with that before they get into a relationship. Same thing with a friendship, you know. This is somebody who wants a lot of your time, you know, and I hate to say it, I've heard it referenced as like a emotional vampire, where they want all of your like energy. Like there's always all these problems going on, and they want the attention, and it's not so much even checking in with how, say, you are doing. They want to go on about all of their issues. You know, so that would be how do I put it, an unbalanced relationship if that exists. With career, we have somebody that obviously, I mean, they've acquired some material wealth here in the form of these pentacles. They're in a good place with work. However, they're not down to take any chances. So this is not somebody who's going to be wanting to do any group projects or share their knowledge and experiences. They are afraid of their work being stolen from them, or somebody somehow trumping them, taking their position from them. They're going to want to pretty well stay doing the same job and be very guarded off, very defensive about it, you know. With finances, we're looking at somebody, they're sitting on some money, right? But again, he cannot take any movement or action with how his feet are down on these pentacles, you know, and how he's holding them. And then he's got the one on his head that's balanced there. So he's very much stationary. So it's not like he's taking any action to invest it, put it into savings, and grow that wealth and put it out there and utilize it, or buy a house, like do some sort of sound investment. They're very much just like, again, clinging to it. So I'm going to read the upright descriptors before we go into the reversals here. So we're looking at, with the upright, holding onto money, investing, which really he's not able to invest because he can't move. So we're not investing. It's only when we delve into the reverse and he's going to let go of the money a bit and utilize it. But here, he's just afraid to do anything at all with it. So the main goal would be holding on to money. There is a lot of structure and discipline that was used here with obtaining this. Possessive. Pretty well this person saying, this is mine. There's nobody else in this card. They are not wanting to share it with it in the upright position. There is stability and security here. And because of those feelings, or in addition, some people define themselves based on their material possessions. They want the nicest house on the block, the nicest car, the nicest clothes with the brand names that have to be on everything. Because in our society, at least in America, it's unfortunate to say these are known as indicators of status. So it shows that you're elevated, you're somehow special to have these things. So this is somebody who's very much about the material. It could be seen as being very frugal. They're not out spending their money, but again, this person cannot move or take action with it being upright. Guarded, I mentioned materialistic. So with relationships, we're looking at insecurities, fear, clingy, jealous, possessive. With a single person, they could be holding on to the past. So they're not in a good place to go into a relationship. With career, it's avoiding collaboration. The guard is totally up, right? And we were talking about with finances. So again, we have some good accumulation here, but it's not really being used for anything. So with our symbols, I had mentioned the Midas touch, which is of the crown, where everything turns to gold based on that myth. The coin on the head. It impedes connection with spirit, with the divine. And again, one of the main takeaways is with the upright in this position, our main character cannot move. They cannot go anywhere or do anything because they're so tightly holding down and these pentacles, you know, alone, disengaged from their loved ones and community. So yeah, those are the main takeaways for the upright. Now let's delve a bit into reversals. And again, like I always say in these tarot teaching moments, if you don't read reversals, if it doesn't resonate with you, just don't do it. But, you know, for the sake of going over it and for people who do read reversals, then we'll go ahead and we'll delve into that a little bit. So we're generally talking about, on a spectrum, a heightened meaning of the upright. So we're looking at, think of Scrooge from the Christmas movies, how he was like, bah humbug. And he had all this money, but he was not kind to his community or the people who worked for him. And then all these little Christmas ghosts visited him, and he realized, oh my gosh, I'm on this wrong road. And so instead of meeting his death, then he decides, well, he's going to be generous, right? And help his community and be better for the people who work for him. So here we're looking at the central character releasing the hold on these pentacles, and now we're looking at action. So if they're not being a miser, being a Scrooge to where they're really tight, like even a tighter hold on their money, okay, which would be miserable. On the opposite end of that spectrum, then we're looking at that example I just gave you with the central character of Scrooge from the movies, where they become very generous, and now they're actually utilizing the money. And so, you know, they're investing it. They're putting it into savings, stock market. They're buying a house. They're doing things to where that money can accumulate and grow. Again, maintaining that stability. And they're also helping others who are less fortunate. Because at one point in time, our central character here was less fortunate and knows what that feels like. And so now that they've gotten ahead in life through hard efforts, then they're wanting to give back, right? So, you know, the other kind of shadow to this card, though, is that you can be a little too generous. So say if somebody overspends without having boundaries with how they manage their money, then they can end up in the hole and be right back to where they started, where they're struggling without that stability. So it could reflect a lack of structure in life if they do that, overspending, but it could also mean generous and giving, you know, so the two don't necessarily have to be connected. So with love, this also proves that not all reversals in tarot are bad. It's overcoming jealousy, possessiveness, and past issues. It's letting them go, right? In career, it's working with others, collaboration, the group. They're seen as a team, and they continue to grow as a team. They celebrate as one. So it is not at all individualistic like it would be with it being upright. And with money, we were talking about, okay, at this point we have action. So we've got spending money, donating, sharing resources, not living beyond your means. So we should all not live beyond our means, or else we can't put food on the table and pay the utilities and the rent or mortgage. So we all have priorities that we have to meet to support ourselves and our families, right? So those are some of the big takeaways when it comes to the Four of Pentacles. And so now we'll go into the cards just to kind of see what I want you to observe for are the symbols that carry over from the Rider-Waite-Smith to the other cards I'm about to show you. So with this card, we have a really pretty lady with her head wrap. I really love her look. It's like so bohemian, right? I even love her accessories, and she's got this really pretty gold eyeshadow on. And you see how she's clutching her pocketbook with the four like pentacles in it close to her core. Now behind her, there's a little town. So there's all sorts of people to meet and shopping and food. But the thing is she's so protective, and you see how behind her there is a fence up, right? So very much guarded, on the defensive, guarding that money. So this is somebody who's not ready to go into town and take action and spend any of it, right? And then in the distance, we have those mountains. So we know that we're on the fourth card in the Suit of Pentacles. We know obstacles are to come. There's always obstacles with the fives. So that's just a little bit of a hint to the next card we're about to do. So there will be obstacles in the future. But again, right now, very guarded and closed off and really holding tightly to that money, you know. So the next card, we have our Crow Friend. And just like our Rider-Waite-Smith, this little guy is holding the pentacles close. And you see how it's on top of the head, impeding communication with the divine or spirit. It's holding it to its core. And then its little feet are perched on one too. And you see how the city's in the background. So instead of sharing that with its little crow friends and family, and they all being happy together, and then they could go eat together, fly, go to places they've never been. Instead, it's very guarded, closed off. There's not other crows in the picture. And yeah, it's just kind of a cold scenery. Look how blurry that looks. So this is not necessarily a good tone when you take in the color schemes. It's a very kind of like, it's one of those winter days where it's very cold and bleary. So yeah, we've got the green growth behind. So yeah, this little guy's done great. And we do have that growth and productivity. But at the same time, what do you do with it, right? Once you obtain it, it's all about finding a balance. Ideally, we want a balance in our lives. With this one, we have our central character, and it's very much like the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I like how the artist, she drew the Pentacles much bigger, and it reflects how this state of being is a burden. This is someone who's very defensive and scared and on guard. Yes, they've done great. They've accumulated some wealth or what have you, in whatever shape or form that takes. Because again, with the Pentacles, we're dealing with the earthly type things. But look at the clouds and the shading in the background. So we don't have perfectly clear skies. There's a lot of uncertainty, which leads to this fear. And like I mentioned earlier, it could be from going without and not wanting to be back there again, you know. And then from the Hush Tarot, you know, obviously my business is called Mountain Crow Tarot, so I do have a thing for crows. So yes, I love the artwork very much. I don't see any semblance to the Rider-Waite-Smith other than this little guy is alone. There's no pentacles here. There's really not a whole lot to draw from whatsoever. And the vegetation looks really dry and dead. So, you know, if anything, this kind of gives me like late fall, early winter vibes when things are like dying and going into hibernation. So I always show this, if you guys are new to my teaching moments, just to illuminate the fact, if you're learning tarot, obtain a deck based on the Rider-Waite-Smith, because if you're learning and you get an unconventional deck that's not based on Rider-Waite-Smith, which you'll only know if you do your research, you're going to be so lost and confused, you know, especially if you're a solitary learner. So, and if you do love a non-conventional deck that's not based on Rider-Waite-Smith, then get you a little Rider-Waite-Smith deck that would accompany this. So you would get, say, like this is the Radiant, which I do post with my non-conventional cards in our group just to avoid confusion and to facilitate that learning as I post things. Or obtain a book where you've got a picture of the card with a description of the meaning. That way you learn the non-conventional deck, but you're also learning the base meanings from the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is the foundation of tarot. So that would be my recommendation on that. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hold up the Rider-Waite-Smith and hold up the other cards for your viewing pleasure here, just so you can compare. But again, as I always say, I love it when they carry the symbols over. It makes so much sense to me. When it's cool sometimes if they take a different artistic direction, I get that, but I like that there's certain elements that carry over, you know. And then I'll show my little crow friend for the last time here. All right. And so that sums up this tarot teaching moment. And then I will be back tomorrow at the same time. And we'll go ahead and we'll delve into the Five of Pentacles. And if you have any questions about, you know, the Four of Pentacles, feel free to leave it in the comments. And of course, if you're new to our group or you fell behind, because I get it, I'm busy too, and life happens. You can find all of my tarot teaching moments on YouTube under Mountain. Really good at reading the cards. Feel free to message me. You can find me on my website, www.mountaincrowtarot.com, where I also have my candles. Feel free to look me up. I'll talk to you guys later. Good night.